Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Intersect Project podcast. Today we're going to discuss Chuck versus the Beefcake, which is a solid episode, kind of a two-parter. The next episode really kind of deals with what happens in this episode, and we'll see that next week. And let's get into it. First off, I want to thank everybody. In between the last episode, Best Friend, and this episode, we hit 1,000 downloads. So many thanks and appreciations to all you out there who download. 1,000 downloads is a lot of downloads. So I thank you for that. Next, I'd like to promote the Chuck Project. It's a new social media-ish type website where we can gather and just talk about Chuck. It's just like a place like Twitter or Facebook where if you just want to talk about Chuck for like an hour, you go there, you talk with like-minded people about Chuck. I mean, simple as that. That way you don't have to weed through hashtags and stuff to find other people on Twitter. So go check that out. It's chuckproject.socialgo.com, I believe. That should be about right. We are also hosting a Indiegogo campaign to try and fund the website because, as you probably know, websites are pretty expensive to run. So we're trying to raise enough money to keep that going for everybody. We're also having a raffle. For every dollar you donate, you get two tickets into a drawing for a complete series of Chuck, or a pair of Chucks. So go get on that deal while the getting's good. Plus help out the website. Alright, that about does it for that. So let's dive right into this episode. Alright, so we all know how these episodes start, at least if you are a returning listener. If you're a new listener, we like to start off with two specific subjects, hit of the episode and song of the episode. And they're kind of self-explanatory, but every episode I pick a song that is used in the show, and I select my favorite of it. And then I select, out of all the fighting and stuff going on, I select the coolest knockout punch or something like that. And then I let you guys know, and then I don't allow, that seems really conceited of me, but I accept and I want people to respond to me. What's their favorite song of the episode? What's their favorite hit of the episode? So, just hit me up on Twitter at ChuckRewatch33, capital C and Chuck, with your opinion. I'll take them. But let's dive into these subjects. On hit of the episode, not necessarily a lot of hitting this episode. It's more of a psychological war game, especially with the torture. So I chose a surprise winner, and I think many of you might agree with me. The winner for hit of the episode for Chuck versus the Beefcake is Brooklyn Decker. Everybody, give a round of applause for Miss Decker. She deserves it for that wonderful slap on Chuck. Thank you, Jeff and Lester, for, being pervy enough to cause that. I laughed when it happened. I always laugh when it happens. And it's my favorite one of the episode. And so, sue me if you don't like it. But Brooklyn Decker is today's hit of the episode champion. Congratulations. Now we do a scoreboard check, or we usually do a scoreboard check, but since we didn't really add to the total because Brooklyn Decker is just a guest star and she's not returning for any appearance, I'm going to go ahead and say that we'll catch up with the scoreboard next week. So, that does it for hit of the episode. Let's dive into song of the episode. A good one, too. There's four good choices. I've said this before in previous podcast episodes, but I'll say it again. The music producer for Chuck is just fantastic. always knowing the perfect song to fit specific situations. So I applaud that person for that. And so with with that in mind, after brief consideration, I decided to choose "Wake Up" by Macintosh Braun. "Wake Up" by Macintosh Braun as Chuck versus the Beefcakes song of the episode. It's just catchy. It's got that indie pop vibe that I kind of like. It's just all in all a good song. So congratulations, Macintosh Braun. Your song "Wake Up" has won Chuck versus the Beefcakes the episode. Or not hit of the episode, song of the episode. What am I saying? Alright, now that those two are covered, let's dive straight into the episode. Alright, Chuck versus the Beefcake. Now, this episode starts out little taboo. Grave robbing. Everybody likes a good grave robbing. But some people don't like a good grave robbing, especially the CIA. Especially when that CIA is trying to protect Chuck, and what they're looking for could be Chuck. So, solid, but not solid at the same time. So we get that, and then we get, once again, Chuck trying to decide what to do with about Sarah, because as we know, he really loves her, and as I've discussed in the past, based on empirical evidence from the TV show, I believe she loves him too. But work gets in the way, and nobody wants to be that one person to get the other person like fired or killed or something. So they don't really say anything. We get close. Chuck says something when he's breaking up with her in this episode. He says something along the lines of like, "You know how much I care about you, but it's getting like too hard and stuff to pretend." So I think he's kind of laying it out on the line a little bit. But anyway, Ellie is talking to Chuck, and she tells Chuck, "Hey, why don't you break up with her? I mean, if you don't see a future with her, don't waste your time." Although we all know there should be a future there. Like I said, all the evidence is there. But Ellie doesn't see that, obviously. So she's just doing her sisterly duties. It does get annoying a little bit because she does it so often, but it's well mannered, and she means well with it. So I respect it. She's just trying to help her brother have a happy life. So it's all good. And now Chuck is screening her calls because he doesn't know how to break up with her. And she catches him in the act because she's a spy and she really needed to talk to him about the mission. And he's not answering, so she has to go find him, obviously. Well, she finds him, and they go talk. And that's when he explains, he's like, "I care about you, but it's getting too hard to lie about this fake relationship," while also dropping subtle hints that he wants to know if it could be more than a fake relationship. And he does, and he basically says, unless we could be together for real. And Sarah doesn't respond at all. And that Chuck takes that as no, there's no way, when he should take it as she wants to, but she can't because of work and stuff. So, anyway, they break up. Now, they go down to Castle, and they find out the mission. Guess what? This ripped dude is the one who stole from the grave. What did he steal? Chuck flashes. It's the belt buckle. And in that belt buckle is a chip. They're not sure what's on the chip, and they're not sure why this guy took it, but somebody's got to get the belt buckle. So now we have the most perfect timing ever. Chuck breaks up with Sarah. 10 minutes later, Sarah's mission is to take a dude's pants off in a sexy way. The sexy way. So they get their mission. They go try and set it up. Meanwhile, the Buy More, we're having some problems. Somebody needs to hire a new green shirt. And Big Mike is laying down some hardcore euphemisms for sex to Morgan about his mom, saying he can't interview the new green shirts. So he decides that it's Morgan's opportunity to prove himself, and he gets to hire the new green shirt. Well, obviously Morgan doesn't want to hire a new green shirt after just hearing Big Mike talking about laying pipe euphemisms and stuff. So he hands it off to Jeff and Lester. So obviously they turn it into a casting couch situation, looking for the next buy more babe. Really weird, awkward situation. So Chuck finally comes back to the buy more after his mission debriefing, and he's talking to Morgan, and Morgan needs a place to stay because he just can't listen to Big Mike and his mom go at it like teenagers. So he asks Chuck if he could just crash at his place for a couple days. Chuck says it's okay, and he'll run it by Ellie. Cut to later that night, the mission's going on. They're in the bar. Chuck is having second doubts about the mission because he's really jealous at this point, because Cole is a handsome man and Sarah's really good at her job, and he doesn't want Sarah to be in danger, obviously, and he also doesn't want Sarah making out and making love to another man. But you shouldn't have broke up with her right before that, Chuck, even though it wasn't really your idea to break up with her. So Sarah goes over there, talks to Cole, seduces him because she's really good. She's a wonderful seductress. And I mean that in the most flat, complimentary way. I don't mean it in like a horrible way. So go Sarah. You're cool. Cut back to Chuck's apartment. We see Morgan is making a drink for Ellie and Awesome because, as Morgan guessed, Chuck didn't run it by Ellie. So he has to convince them to let him stay. And he does. He does a good job. He cooks. He makes martinis. He drew a bath for him. I don't like baths, but I'm not going to go into that whole spiel. So he's being a good household manager at this moment, you know? And he's talking to Ellie and Awesome, and they're like, well, Chuck's going to break up with Sarah. And Morgan's like, well, why would he do that? She's the one. They're like, well, he didn't think so. And it's like, have you looked at the guy when he sees her? Yeah, she's the one. So that's sweet of Morgan. He pays attention. He knows things. So Ellie is going to tell Chuck he shouldn't do it if he doesn't, hopefully. Cut back to the mission. Sarah's upstairs. She's trying to initiate the no pants dance with Cole, and she's succeeding well. And she finally gets the belt off, but then Cole 50 Shades of Grazer. But while this is going on, Chuck flashes on some Fulcrum agents, and they go into an elevator. Casey follows them. And when they get out on one floor, he tries to arrest them and let a woman off. Turns out she's also in Fulcrum, and she attacks. Then we have a shootout in the hotel hallway. Now, I understand TV, and I understand drama, but in this case, come on, people on Chuck. If there's loud gunfire in a hotel hallway, everybody's going to hear it in the whole hotel. That's just going to happen. They're going to hear it. But I understand it's a TV show, so I'll let it slide. But everybody would hear that gunfire. Everybody in probably a mile radius would hear that gunfire. But anyway, so when Sarah gives the signal that she is in trouble, it's up to Chuck to go help her. So he does. He goes up there, he breaks down the door like a badass, kicks it down. One day, I just want to do it for fun. Break down a door like that. That'd be dope. But he breaks in there, and Sarah's already corralled him in her underwear, in her nighttime attire. Nighttime attire in certain situations. So they have Cole captured. They're leading him off. He's trying to explain that he's MI6 and that he's actually a good guy. He's deep undercover in Fulcrum, trying to figure out what they're doing. And that is when Fulcrum's helicopter attacks, because Fulcrum obviously has a helicopter with a gun and just shooting up a random hotel roof. So Chuck lets Cole out and he saves the day, shoots a gas tank so it explodes and blows up the helicopter. And it was super sentimental. They were playing beautiful, beautiful music, romantic music, while he's sitting there firing a gun. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I loved it. It was so sentimental and romantic. And that's how he won Sarah over a little bit, at least. That's how he kind of converted her from she not believing that he was MI6 and hating him to, she's on his side now. So now Cole has been, his cover has probably been broken. So now he has to spend the night in Castle. And who has to babysit him? Sarah. Who gets really jealous of this? Chuck. So we get that. Sarah has to go babysit Cole all night, and we cut back to Chuck's apartment, and who other than Morgan would be sleeping in the nude? And he is found by Ellie and Awesome, and they are not happy about it, and they're going to kick him out in the morning because that's gross. You don't sleep on another man's couch, another person's couch, nude, rude. And we cut to the next morning, and Cole is mad flirting with Sarah. It's sort of working, sort of not, but he's still mad flirting. And then we get to see Lester and Jeff's version of a casting couch. For Lester, he's just trying to win a date with these babes, and Jeff is fully nude in a bathrobe, trying to insinuate he wants the sex stuff of the casting couch. So obviously it's super creepy, and all the girls are really creeped out. And we get a nice visit from Brooklyn Decker. Pretty cool, I think. They have a fight. Lester went to the business school at the El Segundo School of Finance. Spoiler alert, El Segundo School of Finance is going to come up a couple more times because it's a fun name. And obviously all the girls are going to call the cops or somebody to beat them up. But they put the blame on Chuck so they don't get in trouble. And that's when Brooklyn Decker finds Chuck and slaps him. But it could be worse. It was Brooklyn Decker, so congratulations. So now they know that they have this chip, and they know Cole's cover isn't blown, so they send Cole to go try and pick up the reading device of the chip. He gets there, and as he's about to make the drop to get the playing device, Chuck hacks the chip so he can appear to be smart and appear good in front of Sarah, try to save the day. And that's when the people who have the recording device see that it's been tripped and it's nowhere near where they're at. So obviously they take Sarah and Cole, because obviously they're trying to set up. It's a setup. So Casey's able to get away, and then the lady goes to the Buy More, and Chuck sees her, smashes the chip, and then he's taken. So I guess for his initial boneheaded move, he made the right decision afterwards to break the chip. So that's cool. So Chuck blew the op, but that's alright. Now he's going to be tortured for it, so no big deal, right? Except his pain threshold's it's not even a 1 out of 10, it's like a 0.5 out of 10. He's freaking out. He's freaking out at the pre-torture. They're just hanging there. So Casey finally makes his way back to the Bymore to try and find Chuck, and scares the utter crap out of Jeff and Lester. And they finally tell him that this lady came in and took him. He goes, gets surveillance, finds out where they went, and he's on his way to go help them. In the meantime, they're definitely being tortured. But I want to say something real quick because I just noticed this the first time I just rewatched this like last night to get all my notes and gather my thoughts about the episode and what I wanted to talk about. And I noticed this the first time. This is my third watch through, and I just now noticed this. But for you experienced Chuck viewers, I noticed something funny in here. And for you new Chuck viewers, this is kind of a spoiler alert, but I'm not gonna really spoil too much. But Lester says after Casey walks away after scaring him and Jeff, he says, and I quote, "I would not want to share a jail cell with that man." Speaking of Casey, I never noticed it. Huge foreshadowing. Never noticed it. And I don't even think that they meant it to be foreshadowing. I bet when they get to that part, they're like, "Oh, this would be pretty cool. It'd be funny." But never noticed it until last night when I watched it. Just huge foreshadowing, and it's absolutely hilarious. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought I'd mention that. Anyway, back to the torture. They just want to know what's on the chip. They know it's the Intersect, and Chuck finally admits that it's him, and she's about to torture him even more. And Cole's like, "Are you kidding me? That little scrawny nerd, he can't be the Intersect. It's me." So now Chuck's mad because Cole's trying to steal his thunder, and Sarah and Cole are kind of being harsh to his face, saying he's just a computer technician. He's nothing, nobody, and they're doing it just to save him. But I mean, come on, it's still a little harsh. Still a little harsh. Anyway, Casey gets there in time, and their torture sesh is over after, Chuck faints and stuff. And Casey tracks down the woman, cuts her off. She's trapped in a corner, and she commits suicide with ricin, so she doesn't have to talk and torture. Because, as we learn, everybody talks. No exception to the rule. Everybody talks. Oh, you don't talk? No, you talk. Everybody talks. Exception. No exception. No exception to the rule. Now, we cut back, and Chuck is being tended to by emergency people, and Sarah's talking to Cole. Casey's like, "Hey, why'd you faint?" He's like, "I'm scared of all that stuff and whatever." And we kind of see a bit of a side of Casey where I don't know if you can 100% say he's rooting for Chuck to win Sarah, but he definitely notices that Chuck wants to win Sarah over, and he's telling him that what he's doing right now is not the best idea for it. So I kind of take it as him rooting for him a little bit. I think he wants it. He wants them to get together. He sees how happy they are together. So now depressed, now Chuck talks to Sarah again. He's like, "Hey, I don't know. I may have been a little too brash breaking up with you." She's like, "No, no, you made your decision. You stick with it for a little bit. See what happens." Then he goes up, spies on Cole and Sarah, and he sees their passionate kiss. And obviously, depressed Chuck is probably going to come back, except an opportunity presents itself in which he doesn't necessarily have to be as depressed. Morgan needs a place to stay, and he wants to move. He wants a change in his life, and that means they're going to move in together. Or so we thought. And nobody really approved of it. Not Ellie, definitely didn't approve. Awesome. Didn't really vocally say anything, but he probably didn't approve either. But we all thought that was going to happen until later that day, Cole is taken by Fulcrum. So now, Sarah and Chuck have to fake get together again. They're no longer broken up, and now they're moving in together, which obviously is not the best thing for Chuck because, okay, he wanted some separation because, like he said in a couple episodes ago in the suburbs, he said, "I don't think I see a future with Sarah because he doesn't think she loves him back. He doesn't think there's a chance that they could actually be together because of her job and stuff like that." So obviously he breaks up with her, and whether he wanted it or not, he was probably going to break up with her himself anyway. So for him, the best option would be separation. And obviously this means they're going to be closer than ever. They got to live together, which means Chuck is not going to be separated from that causing pain in his life. And this is causing pain in his life because he deeply loves her, and he doesn't think she loves him back or could love him back. Because he's not some super spy. He's not like traditionally handsome in his eyes. And he's just a dumb computer technician, is what he's thinking. So obviously he wants to be away from that a little bit, just to let his heart heal. But that doesn't happen. They have to move in together, and we'll see more of that in the next episode. And there you have it. Everyone talks. That's Chuck versus the Beefcake. Everyone talks. It was a solid episode. We get a little backpedaling of the Sarah-Chuck relationship again. We'll see if it moves forward in the future. I hope you enjoyed my analysis of this episode, and some stuff I thought was cool. And I hope you have a wonderful week. I'm putting this out on Sunday, so I hope you have a wonderful week. After this week is spring break, so I'm going to record just a ton of episodes over spring break, just so I can have them to put out. So for the foreseeable future, just expect an episode every week. I know I've been a little scatterbrained with the episodes recently, but I've just been super busy. College gets really hectic right before spring break, so I've just been going 100 miles an hour and then immediately stopping so I can relax for a couple of days and then just going straight back into 100 miles an hour. So they won't be as scatterbrained, they'll be more set in stone. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your patience, and you're still listening to the podcast, so I might be doing something right. Who knows? But that about does it. Like I said earlier, go check out the Chuck Project. Go donate. Help us keep it running because it's a lot of fun. A lot of people on there. Once again, just thank you for listening to the podcast. Over 1,000 downloads. That means a lot to me. It means a lot of people. It means you guys care enough to listen to me talk about Chuck forever. And I like to talk about Chuck. It's my favorite TV show. So I appreciate you for listening, is what I'm trying to say. And then, last but not least, I'm maybe hosting, at some point in the near future, maybe in a month or two, I'm going to be putting out a new podcast. It's in the works right now. It's not gonna be like this. It's gonna be more of a free-form discussion about specific topics, funny characters, stuff like that. It's sort of in the vein of Comedy Bang Bang, if you know what that podcast is. It's going to be sort of in the vein of that, but more topic driven than just straight up freeform. Because me and my co-host on that are not improv legends or comedian legends, so we're not that good at stuff like that. But when that comes out, or when that gets closer to coming out, when I have more of a title, we have a couple episodes recorded, put them out there for you guys, I will promote that again on this podcast. So, thank you for listening. Thanks for 1,000 downloads. Here's to another 1,000. Here's to another 10,000. Let's keep that climbing to the top. Remember, everybody loves Chuck. Some people just don't know it yet.